Hey, ShineOn. This is Jim Cremella coming at you with a quick video walkthrough of our latest shot of espresso. Wanted to walk you through it kind of step by step, and feel free to download the guide. This one is going to be all about crafting the perfect message. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. You'll see table of contents here is all about introduction, finding, panning, crafting, rapid testing, and then final tips. So a lot of times we spend focusing on really talking about finding messages and inspiration from Etsy, from Pinterest, quotes, poems, and song lyrics. And from a recent coffee with Michael, talking with Anna Beck, they were discussing about a different way to do it. And so I wanted to kind of dive in deeper about how one would go about dissecting this other one that isn't really talked about that much, and that is open letters. So to start with, what you'd want to do is just run to google.com and search for open letter to whatever your niche is. Open letter to my wife, open letter to my mom, open letter to my granddaughter, open, in this case, open letter to my daughter. So when we came up with, he says there's a lot of different, you can get very specific if you want a birthday message or one that's passed away or on Mother's Day. There's a lot of specificity if you want, or you can keep it broad and just go with the niche. So open letter to my daughter. Excuse me. From that Google search, our very first result was this one from goodness.me about relationships, and it says, letter to my daughter, lessons in love. So if we go here, you can see, dear daughter, 8 lessons in love and life. And then this is the letter. Now, I love this part of the letter. It's one of those where I think you could definitely, if you take your time with, you could really craft an amazing message. This one really tugged on my heartstrings quite a lot. Primarily because I'm a dad and I have a daughter, and this one really got to me. But as far as the components that we went from, or we took from, if you will, for this particular guide or this shot of espresso, was this part here where it says the 8 reasons. Love yourself above all else. You are enough. Don't lose yourself in a relationship. And then you can continue and read through the rest of them if you want. That link is included in the shot of espresso. Let me go back to here. So as you can see, we talked about the different shot or the different components that I was able to pull out to craft our message. One of the big tips, probably the biggest tip that I have for you about crafting messages, whether it's from an open letter source or Etsy or Pinterest or song lyric, if it doesn't move you emotionally, it's not going to move anybody else either. So if you are crafting a message and at the end of it, if you read it back and you go, yeah, yeah, that's probably not a winner, right? Like, you want to read it and you want to put yourself, before you read it, you want to put yourself in the mindset of the person receiving that gift. And that's what we're in. We're in the business of giving gifts primarily, especially with these message card designs. So you want to put yourself as that daughter and getting that message. Or if you can't quite figure that perspective out, because maybe you're a middle-aged guy like me, put yourself on the opposite, the gift giver aspect of it. Like, I'm a dad, I do have a daughter, so it is not much of a mental leap for me to get into an emotionally charged saying around that. If you don't have a daughter and you are not a dad, that might be a little bit harder to grasp. So I get that, but maybe you still want to put yourself into an emotionally charged environment. So if you're not at that stage in life and you find it impossible or very hard to get into that emotional mind frame, maybe that the daughter niche isn't your niche. And it's not to say that you can't find a message in the daughter niche and make it profitable. What I'm saying is, if you're really diving in and trying to focus on one niche and get great at one niche, if you can't have an emotional response to the messages that you are putting out there, you are not going to have as easy in a time being successful in that niche as being able to put yourself in an emotionally charged state in a different niche. So whether you're a mom or you are younger, maybe you just have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or something along those lines, or you want to talk to giving it to mom or dad or your brother or whatever, or maybe you're even to that later stage in life and you're a grandparent. Um, I will say with that is that if you can come up with an emotionally charged saying, it probably will work for more than one niche. So if you have something that works well for daughter, it's probably not that big of a stretch to adapt that to granddaughter, right? Like it's still the same age group you're trying to hit. So keep that in mind. A couple of extra tips for you guys there as you're coming up with these types of phrases. So I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I will kind of do the big highlights here. Um, I will say that during my big research, if you will, of ShineOn products and winners, um, your typical winner will have between 4 and 6 lines of text on average. There are absolutely there are exclusions to that. There are exceptions to that rule. I've seen some stuff that's very successfully sold, and I mean it's like a whole chapter in a book almost. I've seen some stuff that's 2 lines long and it's sold really well. But on average, the best winners are between 4 and 6 lines long. So without further ado, from this open letter that I showed you, and I do invite you to obviously click through it and read through the whole thing, because just because we came up with 3 out of here, there are probably at least a dozen different variations to this that are just from this one thing. So the 3 that we came up with were love yourself first, trust your instincts, never give up, believe you are enough, and I will always love you, or I will love you always. Very simple, very straightforward, and this was really like, how can I take the emotionally charged words, the most impactful words, and boil it down to the least number of words per sentence? That was the motivation behind this. I did it for that for a couple of reasons. One, um, it's way easier to read on a news feed than it is if you have, these paragraphs of text. People don't have to strain. It's very succinct on purpose. And then to counterbalance that, we wanted to come up with longer phrases, which more adjectives, things of that nature, more filler words, if you will, to round it out and see if, is explaining the message more beneficial to get a sale and having that whole thing flushed out, or keeping it as short as possible with just the most emotionally impactful words. And that's going to be a neat test as we run it. So these are the 3 variations. Again, I won't read through the other 2. You're more than welcome to download them and see which ones you like the best. In step 4, you want to go into rapid testing. So, excuse me, we have a template or a couple of different variations of a template that we use for all of our new phrases. It's very simple based off of stuff you've seen in a previous shot of Espresso. And that is where it's got a white background. Usually there's some form of pattern in the background, subtle. It's not like super in your face, but it's not just stark white either. And then to my whomever, and then your phrase, and then some type of end quote. Now we are going through a larger test of testing things that don't have the end salutation, like I will love you always, love dad. I will love you always, love mom. I wanted to see if we could prove that it doesn't matter and actually broadens our audience by leaving that phrase off. And I got that idea from Hallmark or any greeting card, right? Most greeting cards, or very few greeting cards I've ever known, have the from line already figured out for you. Usually it's an event, so anniversary, birthday, graduation, Mother's Day, what have you. And then it's to that person. So happy birthday, daughter, happy birthday, brother, or what have you as well. But the from is left blank. And that's designed for you, the individual giving that gift, to hand sign it. So I extrapolated that, or I was like, hey, why don't we broaden our audience here? And instead of saying to my daughter from dad or from mom, which literally in some cases cuts your audience in half, and some of our audiences for daughter, like for example, daughter itself is an interest on Facebook that you can target. If you were to just target men, you're getting right around 1 million people without the expansion checkbox checked. With women, it's actually 3.5 million. So it's the perfect audience for us, right? For your targeting daughter, you can't get more direct than targeting daughter on Facebook. Does that mean it's a guaranteed winner every time? Absolutely not. You still have to test, and you have to test multiple different interests and things of that nature. But it's the most direct target that Facebook offers. By us removing that end salutation, the from dad, from mom, that allows us to have an even larger audience, which Facebook likes. So it's easier targeting, and hopefully we can sell more. So that's still a test and process, but it is something I do highly recommend that you guys test as well. So what you'll want to do then is do a rapid test. So throw these different phrases, these 3 different phrases on the same basic template. There's nothing fancy here. There's no, really in-depth design work needed. What we're testing is the phrase, which phrases are going to work the best. And then we can go back to a designer and we can say, hey, we would like it designed, around this theme, or can you pump up the design? That does work as well. We're running a different one right now where we started with a very basic text-based design, and it worked. So now we're like, all right, let's see if we can come up with other variations, other different backgrounds to see if that will work better. And one of the variations is showing a lot of promise. It doesn't have near as much ad spend against it yet, so we can't say one way or another if it's for real, if it really is better. But so far, it's performing better on par than the original control. So that's really cool. Anyways, final tips. What you don't see on any of this is straight up plagiarism. I didn't say, and nowhere do I advise for you to take, hey, by the way, I think you should take this paragraph and stick it on a message card and steal the whole thing. You will never hear me say that. Okay? What you want to do is take what you're seeing from the source material and write your own stuff from it. Don't just take my design or my phrase and go, ooh, I'm going to run it. That's not going to do you any good. That's not going to do me any good. And that's not going to do our customers any good. So adapt it. Franken-phrase it if you don't want to adapt the whole thing. Take, believe you are enough and mix it with you are actually, not only are you enough, but you're braver than you think you are, you're stronger than you believe, or whatever. That phrase that's been sold 800 million times already. Will this particular phrase work? I have no idea. That's why we did 3. That's why we're testing all 3. Don't get emotionally attached to your phrases. Yes, you want an emotional response when reading it, but you don't want to get so attached to this phrase that if it doesn't work and the data is telling you it doesn't work, you don't want to be married to it, right? You just want to run it, give it its best shot, and if it works and the data shows it and the market likes it, fantastic. And if not, kill it fast and move on. Don't overthink it. So start creating and testing, then being perfect. Yes, there's a balance there. You don't want to spend 3 seconds on this and go, yeah, that's good enough, and then run it. Spend about 20, 30 minutes crafting your message. But don't spend days, don't spend weeks going, should this be a colon or a comma, or is a period okay here? Should this be sweetie pie, never give up over never give up? Don't, like that nitpicky stuff, invest that stuff into it if you really want to after you've already proven that it's going to work. Like if it's break even or just above break even and you really want to make it profitable, the 3 things you can control are changing up the phrase a little bit, redesigning the background to make it pop better, or change your targeting. And I guess the last one is really the 4th one you could do is change your creative. Don't just try one image. Try multiple different images. Try videos. Take slideshows of the stuff. Get a sample made. For example, I've got one mahogany box, upgraded box. Here's another tip for you. Use the mahogany box because then more people will buy the upgraded box. Get a mahogany box, get a couple samples of the necklaces, and get some cardstock for your printer. These message cards are 3x1 by 3x1, 3.1 by 3.1 inches. Okay? Print out your own message cards. Get some samples done. That will really help rapid testing when it comes to videos. Are videos the end-all be-all? No. Are they guaranteed to make your stuff work? No. But it gets you access to 60% more inventory on Facebook than just images. So It's worth a shot, right? So if you're not split testing around, if you've got, I think the thing that is most frustrating to me as an experienced media buyer looking at new folks that are getting into this is they try a phrase, and if they don't have a home run, they think it's a complete failure. And that's not true. Not necessarily. If you're getting well above a 1% link CTR rate, if you're close to break even or are break even on your, like you actually have a design that's getting sales, you're really close to being profitable on ads. You may need to tweak some stuff, whether it's targeting, the phrase itself, the design background, the creative you're using. Those are the things as a media buyer you are in control of. Don't give up on a phrase just because it's break even and not a home run. Okay, you can turn a break even into a profitable campaign. You just got to test it more. All right. So hopefully that helps. I'd love your thoughts on the shot of espresso. Stay tuned to next week. It's going to be a great one. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye now.